Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press, and from listeners like you. This week, help support the work of Central Valley Daily and KVPR by becoming a monthly member. Join at $8 a month or more and access ad-free NPR podcasts through NPR Plus. Give now at kvpr.org/donate or by clicking the donate button on the KVPR app.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Tuesday, December 10th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Amid efforts to boost renewable energy, there are projects in the valley that are already producing results.
These are the kind of projects that you can nestle within a community, you can put on a farmer's least productive 30 acres.
We will learn more about why so-called community solar projects are taking off. But first, today's headlines. Could students at UC Merced have helped flip a Valley congressional district? KVPR looked at the numbers in District 13. That's where Democrat Adam Gray narrowly edged out Republican incumbent John Duarte. Election results show the precinct that contains UC Merced pulled in 337 more votes for Gray than Duarte. That's a larger margin than the 187 votes Gray won by overall. Melvin Levy is the registrar of voters for Merced County. He says when polls closed at 8 p.m., the line at the polling station closest to campus wrapped around the parking lot.
The line was so long that it took more than 3 hours to finish serving all of the voters that were already in line at 8 p.m. And presumably many of those folks were UC students.
Experts say students paid close attention to the presidential election, with many registering to vote on Election Day. And Congressman John Duarte's loss to Gray last week isn't stopping the Valley farmer from looking to remain in Washington. The news website Notice is reporting that Duarte is pursuing the job of leading the Bureau of Reclamation under President-elect Trump. The Bureau is responsible for managing and protecting water resources for much of the western U.S. Duarte conceded to Gray shortly after the race was called. Fresno County election officials have completed a review after hundreds of ballots were mistakenly assigned to the wrong precinct. Officials found about 250 voter addresses were improperly assigned. The county has certified election results, and officials say the erroneous ballots did not affect the outcome of any races. The elections office says it has corrected the error and will re-verify all addresses early next year to ensure this doesn't happen again. Experts say Donald Trump's upcoming presidential term will likely have impacts on environmental regulations throughout the country. Cap Radio's Manola Sequeira has more on what that looks like for California.
Trump has made promises that could impact California projects aimed at reducing emissions, like its exploration of offshore wind as an energy source. The president-elect swore to end offshore wind projects on day one of his term. Sharon Jacobs is a Berkeley law professor with a focus on energy and the environment.
He can't end offshore wind leasing with the stroke of a pen, but he can, with the Department of the Interior, kind of slow walk permits.
She expects California will have to leverage its resources in pushing back against upcoming changes.
So we have a real leadership role and an opportunity, I think, to use our resources in this way to sort of fight some of the rollbacks.
Jacobs says the state attorney general's office will play a big role in challenging Trump administration policies, much like it did during his last term. In Sacramento, I'm Manola Sequeira.
Support for Central Valley Daily comes from Fresno Mazda, part of the Prieto Automotive family, with special holiday financing deals on select models through the end of the year at the new showroom on Blackstone and Barstow. Information at myfresnomazda.com.
And now to our main story. Getting the sun to help power a home is not a new idea. By some conservative estimates, over 1 million California homes now rely on solar panels for energy. But not everyone is able to tap into the resource. Renters, for example, are a group often excluded. In recent years, there have been efforts to close this gap through what's known as community solar. One of the most recent community solar projects was unveiled in Visalia last month. Brandon Smithwood is a vice president with Dimension Energy. He says the Visalia Community Solar Project will help serve just under 1,000 customers, and it'll reduce their monthly electricity bill by around $40, or nearly $500 a year. And the 30-acre community solar project that sits just outside Visalia has the potential to become a model for more projects like it in California. Smithwood recently joined me for a conversation and discussed some of the benefits of these projects.
One of the benefits of community solar is it doesn't require you to put the solar on your house. You can get the same reductions in your utility bills that other customers who are homeowners and have a good roof, that they've been getting for years, putting solar panels on their house. We've now unlocked this option for the nearly half of Californians who are renters and other folks who, even if they own their home, may not be able to put a solar panel on the roof because of the structure of the roof, or they have a large tree, or there's a number of things that keep people from being able to enjoy the benefits of having their own solar production.
I believe these projects were greenlit in part because of California's Green Tariff Program, which was discontinued in 2022. Despite that, does your company and your partners hope to keep establishing more programs like this in the Valley? What's your plan moving forward?
That is our plan. And the Public Utilities Commission, which regulates utilities, had a real start-stop approach to community solar. A bill was passed in 2022, sponsored by Assemblyman Ward of San Diego. The PUC's been pretty slow to implement that, but we're hopeful that we're going to see more projects and more action out of the utility regulator to create more of these projects very soon. And the biggest stimulus for that is $250 million that the federal government has awarded to the state for solar projects that serve low-income customers. So the state has a lot of money to get out the door in the next year, and particularly with a new presidential administration coming in with new priorities, the state is going to have to efficiently deploy those dollars to projects so that they don't get recaptured. So there's a real opportunity. There's real urgency for the state to act. So we're hoping that we can take the handful of projects we've done in the Central Valley and replicate that success to dozens more communities.
Yeah, this sounds like really a burgeoning field. I know solar has been talked about for years now, but we're seeing some action. Can you highlight any other reasons why solar is a good option for these types of projects?
There's a few reasons. The most immediate need is a way to produce low-cost power that can bring people's electric bills down. But the state's gotten lucky the last couple of years in that there's been a lot of rain and snow, and that helps the power generation in the summer when things get really hot. But we need more clean energy in the state just to keep the lights on, and deploying more of these projects can help with that. I think these projects also have some ancillary benefits. There's been a lot of concern over where are we going to put all of these renewable energy projects that the state needs to meet its clean energy goals. And these are the kind of projects that you can nestle within a community. You can put on a farmer's least productive 30 acres. And particularly as we see tightening restrictions on water, farmers need to find ways to fallow some of their land while still keeping the rest of their land in agricultural production. And the scale of these projects is a perfect fit for a lot of those farmers in the Central Valley who can no longer irrigate all of their land and need options to make their properties productive while still keeping most of it in agricultural production.
So why was the Central Valley selected as an area to do this project? It's the first project within the state of California, and that seems important that it's happening here.
When this program was created in 2018, the program that these projects were built under, I think there was a recognition that the Central Valley has seen a number of renewable energy projects but those communities have not necessarily been the ones to benefit from them. Power is produced in the Central Valley because it's a sunny place with good land for building solar projects. But a lot of that power was, sent to where the big demand centers are, in the major cities along the coast. And at the time, I think there was a recognition that the Central Valley needed to be able to realize more of the benefits of the projects in their communities directly. So I think not only is it meaningful that these first projects are in the Central Valley, but I think it's very purposeful. So as I said before, we're hoping that we can do a lot more in the Central Valley, but I think it's kind of indicative of what we see across the country, that there's a real hunger for people, if they're going to be the producers of clean energy, they want to, and I think are entitled to, be the beneficiaries of that clean energy.
Brandon Smithwood, Vice President of Policy at Dimension Energy. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Dimension Energy is also helping establish community solar projects in 2 other Valley communities, Corcoran and Lemoore. And that does it for today. If you like what you have been hearing on Central Valley Daily, help support the show by leaving a 5-star rating in your podcast app, or even better, share the podcast with a friend. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
We could all use a little help navigating the news these days. The Consider This podcast wants to give you a hand. 6 days a week, we'll help you make sense of the day's biggest news story and what it means for you in less than 15 minutes. Listen now to the Consider This podcast from NPR.